Hello, it's Jack Pepper here, composer, radio presenter and author, and here with bite-sized conversations behind the scenes in classical music. The aim? To give you the best advice in how to make and sustain a career. Welcome to Classic 15. Now, throughout 2026, one of our key themes is artist representation and presentation. How to get an agent, a record label, and indeed work best with them. So, who better to welcome than the trailblazing French double bassist Marc André? Annoyingly, he was only born in 2002, and wonderfully, he's already making history as the first double bassist ever to sign an exclusive contract with a major classical label. His debut album with Warner Classics released spring 2026. Now, an early encounter with Gauthier Capuçon has helped catapult him to fame across France, and he's since enjoyed a solo tour across China in 2024, a 2025 South America tour supporting soprano Nadine Sierra, and in 2026, he has solo debuts in Taiwan and South Korea, not to mention a world premiere of a new concerto written just for him. And he has been supported by Classique too, I should mention. He is a laureate of the ICMA Classique Award. We're going to explore how to get an agent, a record deal, how to manage social media and self-confidence. But let's begin by going behind the scenes. I asked Marc André to tell us about the team supporting him. Who's helping?
Well, a lot of people. First and foremost, I think my mother. the inner circle, as I like to call it, my girlfriend. But also, of course, my agent. I have a mentor. I think up until now, pretty much, I have been doing a lot of things on my own until I think it's called growing up, when you learn that expanding can have benefits. So right now, I have a little bit of a little inner circle around me, which is very great.
And have you always listened to the same people for advice? When you speak about expanding, are you going to different people now to, 5-10 years ago, or have you had consistent mentors?
Oh, yes, of course, different people. Some people are more consistent than others, but I think I was always maybe very scared, to go to people and talk to them about my career. I always wanted to be in control of the things. It's like off-sourcing certain things can be very scary, right? Because then you're not in control anymore. I think when people have an assistant, it can be like this, that all of a sudden another person is doing some of the work you used to do. It means that now you don't really know how this work is going to be done. So it can cause fear. But of course, if you have the right people, then it is infinitely better. It's the same with advice for career, or, you think always you know everything on your own, especially when you're young, until you realize that you don't.
So how did you find an agent who would respect and understand that?
You have to find somebody that is willing to take a risk. And unfortunately, taking a risk nowadays in the music industry the way it is now, it's very, very hard for a lot of people, which of course I understand, because the market can be perceived as quite fragile, and then saying, yes, I'm going to sign a bassist, let's go all in, I have no idea, rock and roll. I understand that this can be very, very scary for a lot of agents. You need to find a person that is willing to go all in, that is willing to take risks, and that is willing also, unfortunately, to have some kind of percentage of failure, because it's, nobody really knows how it's going to end up. And I think that's the thing. You cannot be certain that it's going to work out, but you need to find a person that's willing to say, you know what, I don't know, but I believe in you, let's go. So for me, I was very lucky. I found my agents thanks to a friend of mine who gave me a shot. So it's a pianist, Simon Graichy, a pianist based in Paris, and he gave me a shot. And he basically told me, you know what, I would love to have a recital with you. I've never played with double bass. And he's a person that's generally very open-minded. For me, it was a huge opportunity to play in a big hall in Paris with a big artist and just to get, this kind of experience. And it was a big success. And after this, I got signed to his agent, which is now my agent as well. So, yeah.
And how would you define your agent's kind of role at that, comparatively early stage in a career at 2021? What is the responsibility of an agent at that point? And what is the responsibility of you?
Especially for me, it's even more different than for a violinist, for example, or a pianist or a singer. In the very early stages of building a career, the role of an agent is to convince everybody. because you're new in the game, nobody knows you, and you have to kind of make a name for yourself, and you have to prove yourself to people. But that is now in the role of the agent. The agent, is picking up the calls with the organizers, with the festival people, and has to pretty much convince other people. For me, my role is simpler in a way. I just have to convince people of my playing and of my musical side and all of this. But the big work now, I guess, has been delegated to my agent, which is convincing people to give me a shot. That's the most important thing, because usually my goal essentially is, if I have my shot, it's to do so well that my shot basically has been worth something, that I'm invited again or something good is happening or blah, blah, blah. But the most important part is to have the shot in the first place, right? It's to have the chance to be invited and to do something. And I think that now is really the big work of any kind of agent when they try to build a new artist, really, it's to try to convince people of this new talent. And
So if you were kind of creating some golden rules, Marc-André's do's and don'ts, what would be your list of, in terms of working with an agent, things that you absolutely should do, but also maybe common misunderstandings or mistakes made by young artists?
Number one, work like hell. I think it's important to see having an agent as an opportunity to go to the next level, which means you can put off the work now, some kind of work, and now you have extra time, and I would put this into other things. So it doesn't mean less work having an agent. For me, at least, I saw it as an opportunity to do even more in order to grow, right? Like any kind of business, it's expanding, it's growing, it's growth. And number two is, don't try to do the agent's job, right? That's why you have an agent. And especially in the beginning, if you're not used to having an agent, I think it can be very hard to just have full trust in a person, and you want to be in control, and you want to talk to the organizers, and you want to be sure and all. And this is where trust needs to be earned, and trust needs to be there as well. And number three is really work on the relationship with the agent. I think you need to know that your agent has your back, and you need to have your agent's back. You need to be a fusion in a way, become one entity in order to really, really work forward towards common goals. I think that's really important. And I think investing in quality time with the agent is very smart, which means if you're in the same city, get some drinks, get a brunch, a coffee or something, try to create a relationship with an agent so that the person also understands you privately, how you work, what you like, what you don't like. I think these types of things are very, very important. Some people hate answering the calls on Sundays. So it means that if I know something is going to happen, I'm not going to call my agent at 8 a.m. on a Sunday. I'm going to wait, and on Monday morning, and these types of things. I think this is very important to really know who you're working with and what kind of person your agent is,
Presumably that applies to the other people around you, including like a record label, like, Warner. I'm thinking you made history, the first double bassist to sign an exclusive recording contract with a major classical label. Congratulations on that. How did that start? How did the introduction to Warner actually happen?
Like I said, the number one role of an agent is to convince other people. And it's very hard, especially when you are exotic instruments, to convince people if there's no record behind, if there's nothing to show, right? So she was the one really telling me, you need an album, which she was totally right, because having this kind of portfolio thing is the perfect example on how to present an artist. You can just send an album over, you can just show them this and that, and it's really like a presentation of an artist. And how it happened with Warner is a longer story. I was in contact, I think, with every label, and I have been in touch with Sony before, and I wasn't quite sure if they would be the right fit for me. And then later I would ask my colleagues around me, what label do you think would be a great fit, and blah, blah, blah. And it's very overwhelming to say that so many people that also have been with different labels, have all told me you should try to go to Warner. And Warner, interestingly, was never a label I initially thought of, And then when everybody told me this and I asked them, why Warner, why not other labels? They all gave me arguments. And then slowly but surely it started making a lot of sense for me. Also personally, because it's a French label, in Paris. And I was like, that's the only label that's kind of French. And I'm French. Oh, wow. You start like picturing, because I think that's the most important thing is, can you really see yourself with a certain house or not? Because it's like an agent, it needs to match. So then I told my agent, yeah, Warner. And then she said, really? But I don't know anyone. I mean, I don't know many people there. I'm much more with Sony because most of our artists are with Sony. And I told her, yes, but listen, I want to go with Warner. I don't know. It's just, how I feel. It's my intuition. Oh, also pro tip, always listen to your intuition. So then, like I said, you have to take a risk. She wrote an email to all of the team of Warner. And they, to my surprise, seemed quite interested. They wanted to meet. So then they went to our concerts I attended, or I played to as a special guest in Paris. So they got to see me play live. And then after a few days later, they invited me in their office, which obviously was very scary. You go into this big building in Paris, you have all these people, all these fancy desks and all. Then we had a very, very long discussion and I presented to them my entire idea. So I had beforehand already made like a huge PDF portfolio kind of thing with my entire idea of the concept of the album. So that, also in my mind, it was, I want them to sign me as easily as possible, right? I don't want them to have to ask what, why and what. No, everything is in a fixed presentation kind of thing. I pitched my deck pretty much. I had all of the work done beforehand with really what I wanted. And I think they really liked this because they saw an artist that not only cared about the music, but also that took initiative into the other things, that had a vision. I think having a vision is super important, This is also why I never wanted to do an album beforehand just like this. I was okay waiting even until I was 25, 26 or 30 for my first album. I didn't care. It's like the agent. It had to make sense. It had to be big and it had also to just be good, And I didn't want to make an album just to make an album. I wanted to make a statement. And I think that's what they liked. And so then a few weeks later, we got the first contract and then everything kind of started settling in. So yeah, that's how I got signed with Warner.
Do you have to speak differently, work differently when you're speaking about a record label versus an agent? Is the relationship a little bit different?
To me, maybe I'm quite lucky. I mean, also, of course, in a record label, you have a lot of people and they all have like a different job. And then there's the assistant of this and that. And so, it's can be quite overwhelming. Whereas with an agent, there's usually your agent and an assistant maybe. But for me, it seems also friendly. Right. I'm having lunch with them. I'm having fun. I'm getting some drinks or I'm talking. I can call them on a Sunday and it's very, very collegial and very friendly. And I really appreciate this. So it feels very similar to my agent. Sometimes we also have lunch, all three of us with somebody from Warner and my agent. And I really like this atmosphere.
Obviously you have a very significant international presence, social media as well. What is the role of social media? How would you sort of describe the way you see social media?
I see social media as a tool that can backfire. So we live in a world right now where we're so overstimulated, there's news and colors and things, and there's so much noise around us. And social media, unfortunately, can absolutely enhance this. So you can really lose yourself in all of this. You can compare yourself to people where there's no sense to compare yourself to, there's no reason for me to compare myself to Justin Bieber, I think it can be very dangerous, but there's also a huge upside to social media. You can use it to connect to people all around the world. You can use it to show your work, but also you can use it to grow a fan base, right? This is, in a way, what I have been doing. So much so that in some parts of the world, just because of social media, I can sell out halls in less than an hour just after posting a story, which is very, very scary, very crazy. It's also something quite new. This phenomenon didn't really exist a decade ago.
So what have you found really works in terms of your social media, things that you've done that you think, I better do that again because that was helpful?
That's funny. I always say this to people because, believe it or not, so many people right now, at least in the industry, have caught on that social media is a thing and we should absolutely, do something about it. And they all think, you must have done crazy productions or special videos or this or that. And honestly, for me, the stuff that works the best, that has always worked, where I've gotten 10 millions of views and all of this, is the simplest thing. You'd think it's ridiculously stupid how easy it is. It is just play a concert, have it recorded, take snippets of the concert and post it on social media. There is something about the live energy. At least for me also, I'm a person, I always play much better in a concert than on recordings or than when I try to imitate a concert. I need the thrill, the adrenaline. I need to be with the people. And these sections are the ones that have always gone viral, where I've had 8 million views or, crazy things. And every time I try to do, let's do a special recording session for social media, I'm going to pre-record this and then try this and all. it never really worked out because I think the authenticity was lacking. I think there's nothing more authentic for classical musicians than just playing a concert, because at the end of the day, that's what we are going to do, right? And so what's funny is that then it created this circle, meaning I had one little recital I did at school and university, got recorded by a friend of mine. I posted a fragment of this on my Instagram. It blew up. And thanks to this, I got more concerts that then got recorded. And then I got more content to post. And then I got bigger concerts to then get more videos to post. It's like this vicious circle where like the more concerts you play, the more they can be recorded if you ask, and the more you can get more free content. And then the more people see you and want to invite you. And this is this eternal circle, but it's also the easiest work for us because as musicians, it doesn't matter if there's a camera or not. We're going to play the concert anyway. Right? Whether there's 10 cameras or 0 cameras, I still have to play the concert and I still have to play well. So it's free content because it also means I don't have to book an extra day, rent a hall, rent this. No, I'm just playing a concert, which I would anyway. And then I got free content. And this is the best thing and the best advice ever. And also, I think it makes the most sense for most people because I know that most people don't want to bother with, oh, I have to create content. I have to do this. I have to. And with this way, you don't have to create anything. Just ask for your contents to be recorded and put snippets of those online. And you'll see how amazing it is.
And the power of recording seems to be the kind of general takeaway, not just for social media, but for your album as well, as you say. This is your sort of your shop window for what you do. So just finally, if there's something you could say to yourself 10 years ago, you know, when you started, or not even 10 years ago, gosh, that's annoying, isn't it? How frustrating. You're just so good. But when you took up the double bass less than a decade ago, and here you are now with a record deal with it, what would you say to yourself when you were starting out? What do you know now that you wish you had known then?
I think my biggest strength has always been not knowing everything. I think the power of cluelessness. I had no idea. When I picked up the bass, I thought, you know, whatever. I mean, I didn't even know if I was really going to get into music. I was 10 years old when I first picked up the bass. And I thought I was going to do rock and roll in a band and all of this. I had no idea where this would lead me. And then as more I got into this instrument, I thought at some point I wanted to be in a big orchestra, a big, principal bassist in a nice orchestra. And so my goals always kind of switched the further along I went to, because I realized, but what if I do this? Like maybe I could do more, maybe I could be more. What if? I think this question, what if, is what really carried me. And it's still carrying me because I still keep reinventing myself and, having new desires that I never thought I would have. So I wouldn't really give me an advice. I would just say to myself, don't put pressure on yourself and keep exploring, right? Because the core also of everything I do is that I love what I do. If I would have to do what I do, I would immediately stop, I'm also a person, I love pressure. I need pressure. It can be very unhealthy. But for example, during COVID, I didn't touch my instrument at all because I was like, there's no concerts and there's nothing to do. And I need to have little things, to look forward to. And I just really love what I do right now. And I think I've got to this place by not having any pressure. Maybe the one thing I would say to myself, if I were to say anything, would be embrace your weirdness. Embrace yourself, embrace how different you are, and use this as a strength. Because I think that is the best strength anyone can ever have, is that we are all different here. And if you play all your cards on your differentness, on you being different than others, I think odds are much higher that you will get something back from society.
I really think this Classic 15 needs to become like Classic 60 with you, because there's a lot more I need to ask you. But for now, Marc-André, congratulations, seriously, on everything that you're doing. And thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you so much. It was lovely. Thanks.
Classic 15, 30, 60 or 90, whatever it is, you can listen to all of our chats with me, Jack Pepper, on the usual podcast platforms and indeed online at classic.com. And cheeky request, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you subscribe, you'll get the latest episodes when they land. And indeed, if you'd be so kind to leave us a review online, that's always appreciated too. Now, I really hope today's chat has been helpful and hope we can do it all again very soon. Bye for now.